What's up, everybody? If you see the mail, you know that we've got a mail day. We're going to talk about some stuff that I've been buying. Zendikar Rising is out. We're about to have a bunch of people buying product. It's going to be crazy. We're going to see collectors variants. It's going to be a huge influx of fetch lands. This is going to be one of the most open products. If you think Wizards of the Coast didn't know that Zendikar Rising was going to be popular, you were not living on the right plane. You obviously got left behind on a game of plane chase. None of this stuff is Zendikar Rising. However, we are going to talk about Zendikar Rising, collectors variants. I've been collecting for a long time. I'm going to tell you how I feel about all of these variants and these products, and we're also going to open some mail. The video starts right now.
Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below.
Hello and welcome to the day. Thank you for spending your time with us. I'm Jake. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. Fun video planned today. We're going to crack open some mail. I've been buying some stuff. There's some variants in here. There's an old card. You can see we have Shivan Harvest. There's a couple reserve list things in here as well. If you like these mail day videos and you like to see what I'm buying and keep up with me, click like, click subscribe. It's the best way to support the channel with just the click of a button. And if you are so compelled, check us out on Patreon. Any level gets you into the Discord. Let's go ahead and get into this mail day. All right, so first things first, I guess we should talk about the Shivan Harvest in the room. Let's go ahead and open this. These I bought a while back, and I never put them in the video, but I want to talk a little bit about why I bought them, and they go as far back as Xeris and Commander 2020. I bought Shivan Harvest because Xeris makes a epic ton of tokens. And we have a couple foils here in the front, little light play on these. These old foils, it's really hard to find them in like near mint condition, but these actually do look really, really nice. And you're gonna see a ton of Shivan Harvest here, and you're gonna think that I'm just an absolute degenerate with the amount of these that I bought. The reason is because Xeris makes so many tokens, and in token strategies, you have just so many EDH decks that have degenerate lands. And if you have expendable tokens, then what you can do is you can go ahead and nuke all of those annoying lands. You have a Cabal Coffers that's getting out of hand. You have a Gaia's Cradle that's getting out of hand. You have, I don't know, Hazkanta or something that's flipped that's getting out of hand. You want to just go ahead, destroy your opponent's wasteland before they can use it on something of yours. Destroy their Strip Mine, their Dust Bowl. You know, any kind of little utility land. And then we find another couple foils here. Oh, and these actually do look like near mint. So these are going to go to the side here. And there are more and more. Essentially with these cards, and this is the consensus around Shivan Harvest, this is the problem with it, is that people in casual EDH hate cards like this. And I want to add this as well, because I bought this before we saw mystery boosters. I bought this before we saw the list on set boosters. This was purchased thinking this would never ever be printed again. Even though it's not reserve list, I just figured there's no real set in Magic where they're gonna want to put Shivan Harvest in a standard set and thus putting it into Pioneer and thus putting it into Modern. It's just not super fun to play against. But in competitive settings, I do think that, and some people in competitive, they're probably gonna say, no, it's too slow, even though it's a 2-cost enchantment with only an activation of 2. And that being said, I do think the card is very good. I think it's a powerful EDH card, and if you put it into a political deck where you're just like, hey, you know, don't get too out of hand there, you don't want me to start going after your lands, then I think that it does have a place in EDH, even though people hate land destruction. Let's go ahead and keep going. Oh, okay. So I've been purchasing all of these, and let's go ahead and get this out of here. We have to save this card from whatever this yellow old top loader is from the 90s. I've been purchasing all of these for around like $4 when I can find them. These are the unhinged John Avon lands that came out of Double Masters. These only came out of the Double Masters VIP product. So if you're looking for these foil lands, just know they only came out of something that was very, very expensive. You know, I have the other ones here as well. Something to think about these, and these came out of my VIP, you don't need a lot of them in Constructed. A lot of really good Modern decks, a lot of really good Pioneer decks are going to have few basics. So if you only need like 3 or 4 islands or only a couple mountains for a deck, the barrier to entry on these right now is actually pretty low. I do think that these are going to go up in the long term unless we start to see, you know, mass reprints of them. How often are they going to bring back these unhinged lands? It kind of falls into like all of these variants and stuff. It's like I'm acquiring these when I can find them very low, but I'm not paying like $8 to $10 for one of these. Do I think that they could get there over time? Possibly. The problem is with all of the wallet fatigue, it's really difficult for me to want to spec any kind of standard card, which is what I would normally be doing when a new set comes out. You know, a few of the specs and cards that I called that were going to be good. I remember buying Kolagon's Commands for like $6 a playset when that originally came out. And I might do a video about this, you know, my specs that hit and my specs that missed. But like Walking Ballistas, I was buying those for $4 a piece. I was buying the foils for like $6 when the card was originally spoiled. You know, I was just like, this card is going to be amazing. One card that I bought that I sat on for a long time was SRAM Senior Edificer. I was like, this is really good and it's an excellent engine, but it took until Pioneer for the card to like really pop off and make an impact. So this was just a random pickup for Carador here. Massacre Worm. I run it in my Carador deck, and you know, Core 2021 came out and I was like, what better time to do it? It's just like a nice mint version of the card. This was purchased at about $10. Oh, and I never talked about this, but all of the Shivan Harvest, those were all purchased at 35 cents a piece. So don't think that I went ham and, you know, spent a bunch of money on Shivan Harvest. The foils were around like, I think like 5. So there is $20 in foils here, but these are all just 35 cents a piece. But this Massacre Worm purchased at around 10, and again, you know, it's not a card that I'm speccing, but I really do love this variant. It's the borderless variant, and I guess with that being said, we can kind of talk about Pimp Factor, which is just what is the most attractive card in any given deck. You know, in EDH, a lot of people want the coolest version, so in my opinion, this is it. I love the OG art, but look at the teeth on this one. The teeth on this are just awesome. I'll pull up the OG art so you can look at the original, and I do love the original too. That's really when I first started playing Magic, was when Massacre Worm made its debut. Started in Zendikar. Massacre Worm was not too long after. But yeah, really cool card. And it's the borderless foil variant. So as far as Pimp Factor is concerned, I feel like this is probably the best choice, in my opinion. I actually really, really like the card. It might be your opinion that the original is the best. And you know what? That's fine. We're allowed to like different things. You might like the OG foil. Whatever. Let's keep it going. Okay, so here we go. We've made it to the reserve list part of the video. And again, you know, I was just talking about how Zendikar Rising, like normally I would be like, oh man, how many of these lands can I get? You know, we have all of these new modal dual face cards, but there's just so many variants. We're still seeing double masters. Like I'm talking about, like I recently bought this for like $4. And when these originally came out, these were all like $10 a piece. These islands were selling for as much as 20. In double masters, we are still seeing it bottom out because it's the flavor of the week. It's all wallet fatigue. So people are just like, well, do I really want to sink a bunch of money into Zendikar Rising variants when I know the set is going to be mass open because people are chasing expeditions, and I just don't think people want to do it. So instead, you're going to see me talking about Sands of Time. Now, this is a card that I did purchase in response to a card that was spoiled in Zendikar, which is Lithoform Engine. So people started talking about Sands of Time when that card was spoiled, which sent me out searching for articles about Sands of Time and reading about it. And I have seen that people have played it in Tawnos EDH. It is by no means a staple, so do not be misled and think that I'm talking about an EDH staple here. I've made previous videos where we talk about Gaia's Cradle, Gilded Drake, and cards that are actually staples. This card fills a very specific niche. If you are here and you're watching and you're fans of the EDH Sleeper series, the Commander Sleeper series, I'll put that in the cards. If you haven't seen that, you can check it out. But this is one of the kind of cards that we would talk about on there. When I purchased these Sands of Time, I purchased them all at, I believe these were at $3 a piece, and I also got a couple other copies at $2 a piece. But what you need to know about this card, it is reserve list, so it will never be reprinted again, and it's very pesky. It fulfills a very, very, very specific purpose. Each each player skips his or her untap phase at the beginning of each player's turn, untap each tapped artifact creature and land he or she controls, and tap each untapped artifact creature and land he or she controls. You know, I've played against it in EDH, and it's just kind of annoying. It's like you want to tap certain things and untap certain things so that you can play around the Sands of Time, but it also goes infinite with Lithiform Engine for infinite mana, but in a way that it's just a little bit janky. However, again, in the wake of all of these variants, this is where my attention went. It is a very, very cheap reserve list card. It has, since I bought it, spiked to like $9, $8 or $9. By no means a staple. It's just a lot of people would regard it as a really, really, really bad reserve list card. And so I'm being honest about that. I want you to know that I'm buying this specifically because it's scarce and because you never know what Wizards of the Coast is going to print in the future. Are they going to make something that makes this busted in EDH? Well, if they do, and if the card spikes, I am going to have a few copies of it, and I'm not buying a lot of copies of this card. But when you look at something that is reserve list and that people are talking about, it's not like we're talking about an Ice Cauldron here. This is a card that does have a use. These two are actually near mint, where this one is anyway. Another couple copies of Sands of Time here, and I think I bought 8 of these total, so I don't know if all of these are Sands. Yeah, they are all Sands. But Visions, known for Vampiric Tutor, a couple other things that sticks out the most. But these old sets are home to some really nice hidden gems. I like the brown sleeve flavor win on the old brown artifact. So all in on Sands of Time, 2, 4, 6, 8 plus 12, $20 in on Sands, and it's probably because people are doing something similar. So I'm a microcosm of the community. I don't have a ton of expendable income to put on Magic the Gathering cards. The cards that I buy are, in my mind, calculated. If people share the same mentality that I have, that is, and I'm gonna completely own this, I bought a box of Zendikar Rising collector boosters because, you know what, I want to open that product and it's fun. But I didn't buy 8 boxes of it. I bought 1. We're going to open it on the channel. It's going to be fun. Maybe we're going to pull a couple expeditions. Maybe we're going to get a couple fetch lands. And if we get fetch lands, great. But you know what? I can get fetch lands in Modern Horizons 2 when it comes out next year in quarter 4, I believe. And the fetch lands in that are going to be enemy fetch lands, just like the fetch lands we're always crying about that we want. Bring me the enemy fetch lands. Well, they're going to be in that product, and you bet your butt that product is going to be mass opened, and hopefully we're playing paper Magic again. But it just doesn't make sense to me to put a bunch of money into Zendikar Rising variants. I'm just like, why would I spend all my money there? This set is going to be mass opened. Everybody's going to be chasing expeditions. And so for me, it makes a lot more sense to focus on, I mean, like a janky little reserve list card and, you know, lands like this or like specific variants for a deck. I mean, there are some specs here. Everything here is a spec, but it's just so different than what I would normally do. Maybe Showcase Ruin Crab would be a good spec if Modern is going to be a thing, if 8 Crab is going to be a thing. But again, it's so hard to invest in formats and invest into paper cards that do not have a finite amount. I mean, reserve list is essentially like mining Bitcoin, and we do have counterfeiters out there that exist. There's a finite amount out there, and once you have mined all of them, they no longer exist. What do you think about these videos? What do you think about the current state of variants? I want to hear about it. Leave it in the comments. I always like talking to you in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video of what I'm buying, and until next time, I'm tapped out.